Hello everyone, it's Friday, January 27th, 2012. This is more of my little quickie news thing. Today I'm not going to ramble for the first 2 minutes, so let's jump right into it. First story was from a comment that somebody wanted me to talk about. They said, let's talk about the ACTA, so let's talk about it. Many people want to know what the ACTA is. Well, it is the Anti-Counterfeiting Trade Agreement. It was written by the WTO and signed by very many nations, including my own Canada. Basically put, what it does is it puts intellectual internet property on par with goods and generic medicines. Makes it so that things that are copywritten and are used at all are basically stealing. One of the things the agreement gives power to is ISPs no longer host free software that can access copywritten material. Essentially why a lot of us use non-ISP hosting. Now a lot of people thought this agreement just came out recently in lieu of the whole PIPA SOPA thing. That's untrue. This has been around since 2005. It originally started in Japan. People have signed on to it since then. It didn't start getting any major news until this month when Poland signed on to the agreement, and most of Europe. Now right now the act doesn't really do a whole lot, but the thing that's most notable in it is that it's a plurilateral agreement. Basically that's a term that WTO uses to say anyone who signs it can make changes to the agreement later, which leaves all sorts of scary things in the future. One of the worst parts about this agreement, it's already up and running and signed. It was all done mostly behind closed doors for everybody, and because of that it didn't really get any kind of general public outcry against it. Now I guess most people wanted me to talk about this because they wanted to see what I would say, and in this case again, I see both sides of the coin. The harsh reality of it is Stephen Harper probably signed something like this to take into account protecting the corporations and companies of Canada to make sure that their copyrighted media isn't stolen or used inappropriately. The bad news is that really doesn't help the little guy who happens to make free things that have any kind of copyrighted material in it. For example, if I did something like this, I could get in a lot of trouble. And this is really just another reason why we want Mr. Harper to have all of his parliamental decisions or countrywide decisions put on online media through streaming or a blog. Because really, we're not the only country it happened to, but this is the kind of thing that should have been brought to the public's attention as it was coming up, is a gross misappropriation of your power. It's best not to dwell. Let's move on to a bunch of better news. Like my personal favorite story of the day, UFC President Dana White. Oh boy. She's not letting me tell the news! Now, the reason Mr. White's in the news today is because he started running his mouth on Twitter and talking about his support for SOPA and the hacktivist group that everyone knows, Anonymous. Got a little defensive. There was a little bit of back and forth, but ultimately it ended in White pissing off Anonymous, and they hacked his website and put all of his personal information on there, like his social security number, his address, his cell phone number, little things. Later on, White went to say on Twitter to Your Unknown News, which is one of their major Twitter outlets, went to say, I love the internet. It helped us grow our biz. Stealing is stealing, and hacking into people's shit is terrorism. Maybe a little over the top. Personally, I won't give my opinion for hacking, but I'll say this to you, Dana White. If a bar pays for your pay-per-view event and then 200 people go to see it, are they stealing? So how's that any different from somebody streaming? Another thing in the news I want to bring up today is an asteroid flew by the Earth last night. Asteroid estimated to be about 35 feet across, flew within 60,000 kilometers of the Earth, which is about 1/5 the distance from the Earth to the Moon. And before anybody loses their cool about this, an asteroid that's about 35 feet in diameter, not gonna make a big impact on the Earth. If it had went straight at us, the atmosphere would have definitely torn it up to something very small, something not really harmful. And the reason I bring this up is this story is personally interesting to me because Twitter exploded last night through my friends and other people in my city. They saw a giant orange glowing orb fly across the sky last night, and you know what they thought. Apparently that didn't just happen here, it was all across the East Coast, and Twitter exploded with talk of UFOs. Personally, I believe that life can exist on other planets. Intelligent life existed on another planet and wanted to travel here just to fly by and somehow didn't notice the satellites or the radio waves constantly searching for it. We're talking about something that's flying faster and more advanced than anything we can make across a larger distance than we can travel. It wouldn't notice anybody's looking at it. I have a small problem with that. That will lead us to the last story of the day. Twitter. Twitter has begun to expand its business by moving into other countries. Of course, that means now they have to follow those countries' online policies. Twitter originally had, as part of its policy, if you put a tweet down that breached any of those policies, they would just flat up remove it from the entire internet. Now, they have the system set up so that if the country asks you to remove certain content, they will remove it, but only for that country. That's kind of cool. It feels like they're trying their best to not stifle your freedom of speech. And the sources are saying that chilling effects gplus.org will have all these tweets that are removed eventually. No tweets have been removed yet, so we don't really know if that's going to happen. But I mean, this gets me thinking a little bit. Even though this feels like it's a step in the right direction for freedom of speech, doesn't it feel like it's a half-assed step? I mean, I would love to know your thoughts. So, a question of the day. What's your thoughts on Twitter or any social media taking down any content that might throw a government into chaos or breach any of their online standard policies? Love to know what you think. Leave a comment or a video response. That's it for a quick bit of news for you today, though. I will see you guys next time I decide to get off my lazy ass and do this.